Welcome back, friends. This is chapter 12, World Between the World Wars, and this is part 4, where we are going to discuss about rise of fascism and Nazism. Rise of fascism and Nazism. Before we begin this, it is very important that we know what is fascism and Nazism. Fascism and Nazism both have a core ideology of authoritarian and nationalistic state. They both aim at dictatorial form of government. However, there is a slight variation between fascism and Nazism. So, Nazism is also like a fascism. However, here in Nazism, there is one more feature that is added here. That is, Nazi party, which is in Germany, always believed that Germans were believed to be people belonging to a superior race. So apart from that, all the features of fascism and Nazism remain same. That is, they have authoritarian rule, they have dictatorial rule in the country. There is only one strong leader in the country, and people are not supposed to express their opinions. So it is same both with fascism and Nazism. Only slight variation in terms of racial superiority among the Nazis in the German party. Rest all things remain constant. Now, fascism is one ideology which developed in the period after the First World War. So, what was the time when the ideology of fascism developed? It was after the First World War. So, this feeling was promoted especially among the defeated countries. Now, which are the defeated countries? Germany, Austria, Hungary. These are the countries in which fascism was strongly promoted. It also emphasized the idea of national unity to expand and to win over other nations. So, under this ideology, they emphasized that everyone should be united. There should be unity among the nation. So, when there is unity, they can expand, they can fight wars with other countries, and they can win battles and they can take control over the other countries. So, this can be possible only if there is national unity among the members of the country. So fascists did not allow anyone to conflict nor have different interests within the nation. Now, here you got to see no one is allowed to have a conflict nor have different interests within the nation. So what does it mean? It means that people are not supposed to express their opinions freely. No one is allowed to have a conflict with the government or with the dictator. So everyone is supposed to agree to what the dictator orders, and everyone is supposed to have a similar kind of opinion. So if anyone was having a different opinion, or if anyone opposed the leader, they were simply suppressed, or probably you could say they were arrested, or might have even they might have even killed. Okay, so they suppress the people with force to ensure absolute loyalty. So what are these people expecting? They are expecting absolute loyalty from the citizens of the country and obedience to central power. So at the center, okay, there is one dictator, and everybody is supposed to be loyal to that dictator. Everybody is supposed to be obedient to that central power, that is dictator. They were against both communism and liberalism. So fascists were neither supporting communism nor supporting the liberalism. So fascists wanted to build unity in their nations through dictatorial states. So here we can talk about Hitler, who was a dictator. He wanted to achieve national unity by dictating terms. He wanted the nation to be united, and for that they promoted mass mobilization of majority community of the nations. Fascist movements shared certain common features. Now let us look at some of the common features of the fascist people, that is worshipping of the state. Okay, so they are supposed to respect the country, they are supposed to respect the national flag, they are supposed to be devoted towards the head of their country, and a devotion to a strong leader. So they wanted the people to be loyal, they wanted the people to be devoted towards their leader, especially in the case of Hitler, and emphasis on extreme nationalism Okay, they promoted extreme nationalism, that is, people are supposed to extremely love their country in such a way that they do not like any other country in front of their own country. Okay, and they also believed in military conquest. Now, what is military conquest? That means they use the power of military to control everything. So these are some of the common features that can be seen in a fascist country. Fascism used political violence, war, conquest as a means to achieve national revival. It also asserted that stronger nations have the right and indeed a duty to expand their territory by displacing weaker sections. Now, these fascist countries, they wanted to revive their nations, especially after the end of the First World War, when they have lost their dignity, when they have lost their respect, and after the Treaty of Versailles, they were forced to follow certain rules and regulations, and they were asked to pay penalties and compensation. So they thought that they have lost their dignity and respect with the terms and conditions of the Treaty of Versailles. And now they wanted to revive their country. They wanted to bring back the glory that they have lost. They wanted to bring back the respect and dignity that they lost upon the imposing of Treaty of Versailles. So that is where they were trying very hard to revive their nations. So they used political violence. So they thought of reviving this through violence by engaging in violent actions, by engaging in war, and by conquering other countries. So these were some of the strategies that were adopted by these countries so that they can revive their nation. They also asserted that stronger nations have the right and indeed a duty to expand their territories by displacing weaker sections. So it is the belief of these fascist countries that it is the stronger nations that always have the right to conquer the weaker nations. So that means, according to them, a nation is a stronger nation only when it is conquering the weaker nations. It stood for state controlled capitalism, and it completely opposed socialism and communism. As we have already seen, fascism, they were completely against socialism and communism, and it also stood for the abolition of private industry. So they do not believe in giving the power or giving the resources to the private people so that they can establish the industries and factories. So they want everything to be under the control of the government. Okay, so they were focusing more on state controlled capitalism, wherein the resources of the country shall be under the control of the government and not in the hands of the private people. This idea was more popular among the defeated countries. So, as we know, the defeated countries, Germany, Austria, Hungary, in such countries, this ideology of fascism and Nazism, particularly in Germany, these were more popular. So which were feeling insulted by the conditions imposed by them on the Treaty of Versailles and the pressure of the worldwide depression. So as we know that this ideology became popular because of the insult that these countries faced because of the terms and conditions of the Treaty of Versailles, and also these countries were going through pressure of depression. So because of these reasons, the ideology of fascism and Nazism started growing among the defeated countries. Now, let us see a little bit of history of fascism. It first began with the victory of Benito Mussolini in Italy. Okay, so it started with Benito Mussolini in Italy in the year 1922. Then Hitler and his Nazi party came to power in Germany in the year 1933. Whereas in Spain, it was General Franco, and we can also talk about Japan. Japan was also facing a severe crisis when it adopted the fascist ideology. It started military campaigns in countries like China and Korea. So all these countries are basically dictators. Okay, they were all dictating. They were against a democratic form of government. And what are the countries you can talk about? You can talk about Italy. Okay, you can talk about Germany. You can talk about Spain. You can talk about Japan. These are some of the countries where fascism had its own version. Okay, they are all the countries that followed the fascist ideologies. Here we'll talk about Hitler and his fascist ideology. Hitler was a powerful speaker. His passion and his words moved many people. He was a powerful motivator. He used to motivate the people he wanted to. Okay, he promised to build a strong nation and undo the injustice of the Versailles Treaty and restore the dignity of the German people. Now, Hitler utilizes this opportunity, especially after the Treaty of Versailles. Germany was asked to pay huge compensation, both in terms of monetary and territorial compensation. And Hitler catches this as an opportunity, and he promises to the people that he would bring back the glory of Germany, and he would remove the injustice that was done to Germany in the Treaty of Versailles. And he also says that he would restore the respect and dignity that Germany has lost after the end of the First World War. So he takes people into confidence. He promises them, okay, he uses powerful speeches to motivate and inspire the people. And people were also getting influenced by his words, especially when the people hear a lot about nationalism, when they hear about regaining the dignity, restoring the dignity, they were actually getting inspired by the powerful speeches given by Hitler. He also promised employment for those looking for work and secure future for the youth. So he promised everyone that there will be jobs available, there will be a lot of employment opportunities available. He took the youth of the country into confidence, and he promised them that he shall be giving many jobs, and he shall be giving many employment opportunities to the people, especially the youth. And he also promised to remove all the foreign influences and fight all the foreign conspiracies against Germany. So he promised to people that he shall remove any foreign influence on Germany. He said that he confirmed to the people that no other country shall interfere into the affairs of Germany. So these are some of the ways through which Hitler took his people into confidence. Okay, so he devised a style of politics. He understood the importance of rituals and spectacles to mobilize the masses. So under Nazism, there were certain rituals, okay, that people used to do regularly. So that is a part of their regular activity. They used to perform certain rituals like marching, saluting the flag. These were some of the things that they used to do regularly. And he also took the help of spectacles to mobilize the masses. Now, when you look at an event, you generally see that there are so many people who are performing some kind of a task or an activity, especially uh, during in Indian context. If you could recollect, during the Republic Day, we see a lot of marches and we see a lot of spectacular events that are being performed by people. So looking at those events, we get inspired. So in the same way, Hitler also had certain spectacles, okay, so that he used to perform, like marching of the crowds and saluting the leader, saluting the national flags. These were the events that created a lot of visual appeal, and it inspired the people. It used to mobilize the people. So under his style of politics, he used the importance, he understood the importance of rituals and spectacles, and he used this in order to mobilize the masses, in order to connect with the masses. So when the public used to watch these rituals and spectacles, they were getting inspired, they were getting a feeling of nationalism. They were thinking of Hitler as a most sorted out leader. So he devised this style of politics, and he included rituals and spectacles as a part of daily routine. Nazis held massive rallies and public meetings to demonstrate their support for Hitler and create a sense of unity among the people. Back in those days, the Nazi organized these huge rallies and public meetings. What was the main goal? The main goal was to show their support for Hitler and also to create a sense of unity among the people. They wanted everyone to feel like they were part of something bigger, they were part of something more powerful, and these events were designed to rally the masses and make them feel connected to the causes. The red banners with the swastika, the Nazi salute, and the ritual rounds of applause after the speeches were all part of the display of power. The Nazis used these bright red banners with the swastika symbol, the symbol that is very popular in Hinduism. So they used the same symbol there in their flag, and they had this specific salute that everyone had to do in their daily rituals. After the speeches, there were also the ritual rounds of applause, wherein the people were supposed to clap for the speeches that were given by the dictators. All of this was a part of their strategy to show to everyone how powerful the Nazis were, how powerful their leader was, how powerful their leaders were. So all these were the part of their strategy to show off their power and to make a strong impression among the public. So it was all about creating a sense of unity and authority among the people. Okay, so they used these kind of techniques to display their power. Hitler also mobilized his supporters by promising to establish the racial supremacy of Aryans, Germans over the world. He also targeted minority communities like Jews, Gypsies, etc., as the main cause of problems. Hitler managed to rally his supporters by promising them that he shall establish the racial supremacy of Aryans all over the world. According to him and his Nazi party, the Germans were considered to be racially superior than anyone else. So he promised that he shall re-establish the racial supremacy of Germans all over the world, and for that he targeted minority communities. So in Germany, the minority communities were Jewish people, the Gypsies. Okay, so he used to target them and he used to blame them for all the problems. So these were all the part of his strategy so that he could unite all his followers and create a common enemy. Since the gypsies were nomadic and some Jews owned pawn shops and lent money, many middle class Germans could be turned against them. Gypsies were basically nomads and they were always on the move, living a nomadic lifestyle. On the other hand, some Jews were also involved in the businesses like pawn shops who were lending money. They were into money lending businesses. These factors made it easy for the Nazis to turn the middle class German against them by blaming these communities for economic and social problems. So it was all about creating the scapegoats, making the Jews and the Gypsies as their scapegoats so that they can unify all the Germans towards their common enemy. He also attacked communism and capitalism, terming both of them as Jewish conspiracies. He promised to build a strong state which would fight with both of them. He appealed especially to the middle class who felt threatened by capitalism and Great Depression. So here Hitler attacked both communism and capitalism, painting both as a part of conspiracy. He promised to build a strong state which aimed at fighting against such ideologies. So here the message was particularly appealing to the middle class people who were actually worried with the impacts of capitalism, Great Depression, etc. So during those time, a depression was witnessed in throughout the world. So he wanted to create that fear among the middle class people, and these middle class people, they were threatened by these economic forces, and Hitler offered them a sense of security and a strong against both this communism and capitalism. So in fact, Hitler, we could, it wouldn't be wrong to say that Hitler cashed in the opportunity to take the middle class people into confidence uh, by blaming the gypsies and the Jewish people for conspiring everything and for making them responsible for all the problems in Germany. Nazi party's propaganda gave some hopes of better future. Hitler was the unquestioned leader of Nazi party. So in the previous slides, we have seen the propaganda of the Nazi party, wherein they wanted to display their power and they wanted to show to everyone that Nazi party is the only party that can bring back the lost glory. So that was the propaganda, and to inspire a feeling of devotion towards Nazi party, they were engaging in certain rituals also. So all this propaganda made Hitler the unquestioned leader. Okay, so what is unquestioned leader? Unquestioned leader means everyone was uh, accepting Hitler as their leader, and no one questioned him. Okay, so the Nazi party uh, has undertaken their campaigns and movements in such a way that they accepted Hitler as their party leader. Okay, in the year 1928, you can see the Nazi party was securing just 2.6 percentage of votes in their lower house, that is Reichstag, and in the year 1932, you can see that the Nazi party becomes the largest party with 37 percentage of votes. So here you can clearly see the growth rate, the performance of the Nazi party increasing to a greater extent in just 4 years. Okay, initially it was just 2.6 percentage of votes in the Reichstag, but by 1932 it was able to secure 37 percentage of votes. So that means people were accepting him. Hitler came to power and immediately he took steps to establish an undemocratic and autocratic rule. He stopped the working of all democratic institutions like parliament. This included arbitrary arrest of political opponents, especially the communists, and putting them in concentration camp. Now, as soon as Hitler came to power, the first thing that he has done is he removed the democratic form of government and he established an undemocratic form of government, which basically includes an autocrat, that is a dictator who rules for the country. So he stopped all the democratic institutions like parliament. Like parliament is a democratic institution which represents the voice of the people. So he stops the working of such democratic institutions like parliament, and he also arrested the people, the political opponents who used to oppose Hitler and his ideology. He simply used to arrest them, okay, and he used to put them in the prison. Okay, what is arbitrary arrest? Arbitrary arrest is arresting someone without a proper legal procedure is arbitrary arrest. So Hitler used to arrest all the political opponents who used to oppose him. Okay, so most of them were specifically communists who were against Hitler and his Nazi party. He used to arrest them and he used to put them in the concentration camp. Now what are these concentration camp? Concentration camps are prisons like jails. Okay, so anyone who used to oppose the Nazi party or who used to criticize Hitler and his ideology, they used to put them and they used to put them in the jail, prison, or which is also called as concentration camp. Understanding Enabling Act under Hitler. On 3rd March 1933, the famous Enabling Act was passed. This act established a dictatorship in Germany. It gave Hitler all the powers to sideline parliament and rule by his order. All political parties and their trade unions were banned except for the Nazi Party and its affiliates. The state established complete control over economy, media, army, and judiciary. So, what is Enabling Act? Enabling Act is an act which is passed by Hitler in order to sideline the parliament. Okay, so the Enabling Act gave complete control into the hands of Hitler. It was passed on 3rd of March in the year 1933. So this act was passed by Hitler so that he can sideline the parliament and take complete control under his hands. It gave all the powers in the hands of Hitler, and democratic institution like parliament was removed, and all the political parties and the trade unions were banned. So there was only one party, okay, that is Nazi party, which is belonging to Hitler. Only that party was existing, and there was no opposition party. There was only one party, that is Nazi party and its affiliates. So the entire control of the country went into the hands of Hitler, be it economy, be it media, be it army, be it judiciary. Everything was under the control of Nazi party led by Hitler. So this is an act that established dictatorship. Now what is dictatorship? Dictatorship is a form of government where a leader says everything and people just have to follow it. Okay, it is not like a democratic government. Okay, it is completely a system of government where a dictator rules. So everyone in such a country are supposed to follow the orders, the instructions that are laid down by the dictator. So, by passing Enabling Act, Hitler removed the democratic setup, he removed the democratic institutions, and he gave himself all the power. Okay, so the economy was in the hands of Hitler, the media, okay, which news to show in media, which events to cover, everything was in the hands of Hitler. Army was also under the control of Hitler, and judiciary is an institution that delivers justice. Even that was under the control of Hitler. So how did Hitler get all of this? He got all of this in his hands by passing an act which is called as Enabling Act. Hitler's way of controlling society. Super surveillance and security forces were created to control and order society in the ways the Nazis wanted. So, separate security forces like super surveillance and security forces were created so that they can control the society and they can maintain law and order in the way the Nazis wanted. Apart from the already existing regular police in green uniform and the SA or the storm troopers, they also formed Gestapo. Now, what is this Gestapo? Gestapo is a secret state police service, and the SS, that is the protection squads, and the criminal police and the security services were these were the extra uh, forces that were brought into existence apart from the regular police that was in the green uniform. And these extra constitutional powers of the newly organized forces gave Nazi state its reputation as the most dreaded criminal state. Now these were some of the additional forces that were brought in existence by the Nazi party apart from the regular police. So when these forces came into power, they were given more and more power so that they can control the country. So when such extra powers were given to these newly organized forces, it gave a very bad reputation to the state. Okay, it was the world was seeing them like a state that was criminal in nature. So it was seen as a most dreaded criminal state. So when these extra additional forces were created and extra powers were given to them, so Nazis' reputation was getting down because of the extra forces and the extra powers that were given to these forces. Now, talking about Gestapo, Gestapo had the authority to stop and detain people in the torture chambers, round them up, and send them to concentration camp. Now, the extra additional forces, that is Gestapo was given the power to arrest anyone, to detain them, and to put them in the concentration camps, to put them in the torture chambers. If they feel that anyone is not obeying them, or if they feel that they are suspicious of the activities that were against the Nazism, this Gestapo would simply arrest them and put them in the torture chambers and concentration camp. They could also deport anyone at will. Okay, so there is no legal procedure in arresting anyone. If they find any suspicious activity, if they find anyone to be suspicious in their activities or in their nature or in their behavior, they would simply hold them and they would arrest them without any legal procedures. So the police forces acquired complete power to rule. So the police forces were given complete power. Okay, they were given a complete control over the situation, and more and more powers were given to them. And these powers were used to arrest and torture millions of political activists, trade unionists, and people of minority communities. So the powers were given so that they could arrest anyone who is opposing Nazism or who is opposing Hitler. So any political activist who was speaking against Nazism or who was opposing Hitler, they were simply arrested and they were sent to the concentration camp. In the same way, the trade unionists and the minority communities. Now, who are the minority communities in Germany at that point of time? We can talk about Jewish people and also uh, um, the Jewish people and the gypsies. Okay, so these were the minority communities. So if they raise their voice or if they speak anything against the Nazism or Hitler, they would simply be arrested, they would be kept in the concentration camp, and they used to get severe punishment. Okay, so this was the way how the Gestapos were given power. Okay, they did all this to build a state of horror and fear. So all that they wanted to do was they wanted to create an atmosphere of fear and horror among the citizens. Hitler's economic recovery. Hitler assigned the responsibility of economic recovery to an economist called Hjalmar Schacht. Schacht aimed at full production and full employment through a state-funded work creation program. This project produced the famous German superhighways and the people's car called Volkswagen. Now, during the times of depression, Hitler wanted to recover his economy. He wanted to bring back the economy to a normal state. So in that process, he assigned the responsibility of economic recovery to an economist called Hjalmar Schacht. So how did Hjalmar Schacht aim at economic recovery? So his strategy was to create full production and full employment. So this production and employment was funded by the government itself. So when there was full production and when there was full employment, so there was a lot of work available to the people. So under this recovery, a very famous German superhighways became popular, and the car that is even famous today, that is Volkswagen, was a part of that economic recovery. Okay, so there was also an improvement in the living standards of the sections of the German. So when the production was run on large scale, so since there was a lot of production going on, there was a continuity of employment. So when there was a continuity of employment, the living standards of the Germans kept improving. Okay, and the government also invested heavily in armament industry. Now, what is armament industry? Armament industry is the industry that is engaging in the manufacturing of arms and weapons. Okay, so arms and weapons. So the government was investing heavily in arms and weapons industry so that it could create further employment. So Hitler and his economist wanted to give more employment opportunities. So the industry in which they gave employment opportunities was the armament industry. Okay, so this armament industry was continuously engaging in the production of arms and weapons. So when there was full production, there was a lot of employment opportunities. Okay, but this plan could be sustained only by going to war with neighbors. Now if the production has to go on and if the employment opportunities needs to be given to the people continuously, it can only happen when there is a war. If there is no war, there could be no production. Okay, there could be no employment opportunities. So Hitler's strategy was to create an economy which is always in full production, it is always producing goods, and also to give employment opportunities. But this can only be possible if there is a war going on. Okay, arms industry will survive only if there is manufacturing of arms and weapons, and manufacturing of arms and weapons is necessary only during the wars. So their strategy was simple: if there are wars, there will be production of arms and weapons, and if there is production of arms and weapons, people will get the job. So that was the ideology behind the economic recovery under the Hitler's regime. So for this reason, Hitler followed an aggressive foreign policy to recover the territories that were lost by Germany. If you could recollect, in the previous topics, we were trying to understand about why Germany was having revenge, why Germany was willing to take revenge. The reason was pretty simple. Germany felt humiliated by the terms and conditions of the Treaty of Versailles. So that is why they always wanted to recover the glory, and for this reason, they always followed a very aggressive foreign policy. So when there is an aggressive policy, there would be chances of war, and when there are chances of war, the armaments industry will always keep producing arms and weapons, and if there is a production in arms and weapons industry, it would generate a lot of employment opportunities. So in the year 1939, what Hitler has done is he had attacked a country called Poland. Okay, so we have seen this already. That was the reason behind the forming of the Second World War. Genocide under Hitler's regime. What is genocide? Genocide is a brutal phenomena whereby one group tries to completely wipe off the other group because of difference in religion, because of the difference in race, religion, community, etc. So one group which is trying to, wipe out completely the other group because they belong to a different race or religion. So in that process, they kill thousands and lakhs of people. So which is called as genocide. In simple words, genocide is where the people of majority try to uh, kill the people in the minority. Okay, so that is called genocide. So as the Second World War began, the Nazi regime started its horrible program of building racial supremacy. So this is something that we already discussed when we were trying to understand the difference between um, Nazism and fascism. Okay, so after the Second World War started, Nazis were trying to prove that they were racially superior to any other races in the European continent. So in that process, they started killing. Okay, they started killing of minority communities. So who are the minority communities? The Jews and the Gypsies. Okay, Jews and Gypsies. So as the Second World War began, the Nazis wanted to prove their racial supremacy. So in this process, they tried killing uh, the minority people. Okay, who are the minorities here? The Jews and the Gypsies. Under the shadow of the Second World War, Germany started a genocidal war. So here, Germany was already participating in the Second World War from the outside, and internally also it was trying to kill the minority communities. Okay, in this war, the mass murder of the selected group of innocent civilians in Europe took place. So in this process of genocidal war, okay, so some people who were innocent were also killed. Okay, just because they belonged to the minority community, and Nazis wanted to prove to everyone that Germans were the ones who were having racial supremacy over the others in European continent. So in this process, they killed a number of people. Okay, you can see here 6 crore Jewish people were killed, 2 crore gypsies were killed, okay, 1 crore Polish civilians were killed, and even the Germans, 70,000 Germans who were physically and mentally disabled. Okay, so if the Nazis used to think that if there are any handicapped people who are physically or mentally handicapped, and if they think that these people are not contributing anything to their nation, they would simply kill them. Okay, so in this process, mass killings were done. Jewish people were killed, gypsies were killed, Polish civilians were killed, 70,000 Germans. Okay, 70,000 Germans who were considered physically or mentally disabled, even they were killed in this genocidal war. Okay, so Nazis devised a horrifying means of killing people. They killed thousands of people in the gas chambers. Now, what are the gas chambers? Gas chambers are like killing center where people would be sent into those chambers, and they would be left to die. Okay, so such kind of genocidal war was also going on at the same time when the Second World War was going on. So this shows us about how Hitler tried to overpower everyone just to prove that Nazis or the Germans were racially superior than anyone else in the European continent. So on one hand, it was fighting a war, and internally it was also trying to kill the people who were in the minority.